This is the way that we bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. Igniting the fire within you. Exalting the melody of freedom. These are the things that will bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. So gather the faithful. Tell everyone to stand and shout loud. Shout loud. Shout loud. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Down, down, down.
Let me tell you, it's in the air. Joy is in the air. Love is in the air. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Don't sleep on it, brother. You might get left, sister. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Justice. No need to be counted, cause I am down. Down, down, down. Down, down, down. Down for the end of racism, for the end of bigotry, cause I am down. For the end of misogyny, that's right. For all the isms out there, just down, down, down. Let's bring it down. Rise up, people. No more foolishness, and let's bring it way down.
Riding the river of change into the cries of contrition. This is the way that we bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. We are the children of Eden, dancing and celebrating freedom. We are the ones that must bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. So gather the faithful. Tell everyone to stand and shout loud. Shout loud. Shout loud. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. We've got to bring it down. Down. Stand up and shout. Stand up and shout. Rise together.
Accountability starts now. The Eric Dawson Radio Show.
Up. Stand up, shout it loud.
If you are not prepared to come to that table and to represent that voice, don't come. Because we don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice. We don't need black faces that don't want to be a black voice. We don't need Muslims that don't want to be a Muslim voice. We don't need queers that don't want to be a queer voice. And if you're worried about being marginalized and stereotyped, please don't even show up.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I think we're on. Yep.
Welcome to the kitchen. I'm in the kitchen today. I know we talked about doing a cooking episode. This is not it. I just happen to have to be in the kitchen working, and so I'm gonna try to multitask and do the show and provide news and information for you guys. Welcome, Vincent and Diane. How was your weekend?
Good.
Good. That's it.
Yes, that's all I'm saying.
That's all. Well, anything else that you add to it you might incriminate you? Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
Got it. Got it. So, listen, we got a lot of news, man, and I just kind of want to jump into it because it's a lot. One of the things that
Diane, how was your show? Oh, sorry.
Is she there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm randomly listening to him. Go ahead, Eric. What were you saying?
No. He's asking how was your show this weekend?
It was fine. Go ahead, Eric.
Okay. So, the news is they're still rounding up people who participated in the insurrection. They are asking or demanding Donald Trump resign or impeach him.
Or deem him unfit. Article 20.
Right. So that's going on. But at the same time, big tech is infringing on our civil liberties, our First Amendment. And I posted it on my page and said, I'm paraphrasing now, but liberals are joyful that Donald Trump has been stripped of his Twitter page and stripped of his Facebook page. And I said to him, I said, you got to be careful throwing the baby out with the bathwater because they're coming after you next. And we've talked about it on this show several times that Amazon, Facebook, Twitter, that they're all the devil. You see, and you can't in this moment forget who they are because what they're doing makes you happy. Right? They still are the devil. They still don't wish us any good, right? They are trying to, well, they already do dominate the space. Here's a fact, guys. 70 to 80% of all news is gathered through Facebook. That means 70% of all the news that people get comes through Facebook. And so now if we look at that and say, well, okay, Facebook is regulating itself and setting the bar for how everybody else should behave. But there's no governing body outside of Facebook looking at Facebook. And so if you're looking at the orange guy and say, well, the orange guy was able to, with 70 million people and however many million followers that he has on these platforms, be able to do what he did. Well, what can a tech company that has 1.7 billion with a B users do if they decided that they wanted to shape a narrative? You see, we got to be real careful because they can make a determination that what we say here on this show doesn't suit their needs and then decide to cancel our account. Got to be real careful throwing a baby out with the bathwater. See, to me, this is the okie doke. Like I keep saying, this is bigger than Donald Trump. And I posted Dr. Eddie Glaude's so eloquently stated opinion about it when he was on MSNBC. I posted that recording. Please listen to it. Because he says this is who we are. Not who we are in the moment of Donald Trump, but who we are as a nation. And everything that is done by this nation is done under the auspices of having black Americans be the commodity to their wealth and to their power. So now, if we understand that, if we embrace that, then what's going on now, right now, with Facebook, Google, and Amazon all uniting, colluding to overthrow another tech company, right? Parler. To get rid of Parler. Because Parler is posing a threat to them. Financially ruining the investors of Parler, of which I am one. But Amazon said you can't use our service. Facebook said, YouTube, Facebook said we're not associating with you. Google and Apple said we're taking you out of our app against Donald Trump, and say, well, they're private companies. They could do what they want to do. Oh. But not too long ago, right? We had Elizabeth Warren. We had Chuck Schumer, AOC, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib. I keep going. All saying that they should be a utility. Remember that? Why? Why were they saying they should be a utility? Because they're too goddamn big. But right now, see, just like we threw caution to the wind as black Americans and said, at any cost, let's get rid of Donald Trump. And our neighborhoods still look the same. We still have failed elected leaders or officials, black. And we're not getting anything from Kamala and Biden. We're not. Here we are again, throwing the baby out with the bathwater because they said so. And we get all emotional. But I'm telling you, this is a well choreographed move by the Corporation of White Supremacy to begin to shut down voices that are in opposition of what they want to do. And again, what do they want to do? They want to continue to marginalize black people. They want to continue to have us be the commodity to their wealth and to their power. And so where there is an uprising now, through these media channels, they will surely shut them down. They have set the precedent.
So how do you decipher freedom of press, freedom of speech, to being a private-owned company and having rules and regulations in which you abide by? Where's the separation?
Thank you.
Where's the separation between what now? Between having a privately owned company, when you monopolize. So the deal isn't just that you can't look at Facebook and Amazon and and Google in a vacuum. You have to look at what they've done. What they've actively done, Diane. They have actively shut every other tech company out of this space.
So how is that any different than My Bell?
Well, and then what did they do with My Bell? When My Bell got too big, what they do to it, Vincent? They broke it up.
Broke her up.
They broke up.
They become just like the others.
Shut down of Trump because of what he's been saying in his rhetoric, or was the shutdown more political move based on the new administration of
No,
Biden
Diane.
and
I think
Harris
that
coming into office?
I think that the shutdown. I think that them look, like I said, if you've ever played chess, right? This move that I'm making over here is a diversion. It's a distraction for the other move that is going to mate you. And what I'm saying is this. Yes, we can argue that Donald Trump, and successfully so, that he incited this, that he used the platform to do all of these things. Got it. But
Okay.
they now have their toe in the door. Which was what? I'm sorry. Go ahead again. No. I thought I did. What was the question?
Diane, repeat the question. Diane? Eric?
Yeah.
He answered the question.
Okay, repeat the question again for me.
Which
What?
question, Vincent? Which question are
Okay,
you talking about?
was the shutdown because of what Donald Trump did, or was the shutdown to appease the up and coming administration?
Well, I thought I answered that. The shutdown, the move to shut him down was a result of what he did. That gave them the permission to do it. That he did this thing happened, and they said, oh shit, he did this thing, this is going on. You know what? The American people, the politicians, they will have the political will to back us because of what just happened. That's why it happened. Right? On top of that, they look and they gain favor. They gain favor with the Democrat establishment. Right? Not the progressives who are pushing back against them, but the Joe Bidens who want to continue to have them be who they are and continue to grow. Joe Biden was not talking about breaking them up. Joe Biden was not talking about them being too big. He wasn't having that conversation. So they get to do both things. That's what I'm saying. It was a perfect storm for them. You see, and they said nobody right now, nobody is going to argue with us because of what the guy in the with the orange skin did.
Well, let's look at if I could add to that in Diane's question.
Did I answer your question? I want to know that I answered your question first.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, if I can add to that, Donald Trump has over 8.5 million followers. When Donald Trump was running for office, everybody was saying that his rhetoric was crazy, radical, and it should be shut down. They didn't do it. Why? Because Donald Trump is a commodity. And 8 million, someone who brings 8 million followers to your site means that you are now increase your advertising dollars, which is how they make a great deal of their money. Then Donald Trump became president, and his rants and raids on Twitter were kept up from what he did as a politician, and everybody was shouting, "Shut him down!" Now they were afraid to because he's president. Now, as Donald Trump got out of office and he started the insurrection, it took that and the courage of once they finally knew and the vote and the die was cast and there was no recourse for Donald Trump to get back into political power. They decided, and of course the insurrection, that they decided to shut down Donald Trump.
Well, that's what I just said all of that.
Yes, but here is to go to Parler, and Parler was amping up in terms of Parler was always known to be questionable. Parler was always known to have conspiracy theories and propaganda. Parler was always known to actually produce what other groups' filters wouldn't let them do. So maybe it was convenient for them to gain political clout, put a feather in their cap with the upcoming administration. For all of these groups, Amazon, Twitter, and all of them, tell Parler that you are no longer on our servers.
Right. I just said all of that. And so
Yes.
the question is, so I'm just trying to understand what you're saying that differs from what I just said.
The only difference is that they did it when it was only politically safe.
Right. No. Right, but that's what I said too. So they did it. They did it when they were going to have these spineless politicians. These spineless politicians were going to show a little backbone, right? Because of the spectacle or whatever you want to call it. Right, the insurrection, the siege of the Capitol, the threatening of the lives of the members of the House of Representatives. So I'm not trying to underplay what occurred. It was horrible. I'm simply saying that their move to do it coordinated with the fact that they now knew that these spineless politicians were going to have the political will, because no decent American citizen was going to look at what occurred on Wednesday and say, no, you shouldn't shut Trump down. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, Eric, we talked about this 3 or 4 months ago, and I said that once Donald Trump loses and he's out of office, all of these little spineless wusses of politicians will now start to show a little back.
Right, but that's not even my issue. My issue is this. My issue is that, so now, think about it. If you're a tech company and you're trying to build your tech business, right? And you have a differing opinion from Facebook, Amazon, and Google, right? They decide, you know what? We want to continue to control the narrative. Nobody but them, those three entities that control. So again, Facebook, 70 to 75 to 80% of the news that people consume comes through Facebook. The balance of it is split between Google, and let's talk about Google. When anybody goes to search anything, right, it's Google. And the analytics, I'm sorry, not the analytics, the algorithms are set to serve up to you what they think is important, right? And business-wise, what they give you is what they deem to be important, and nobody is regulating it. And now you have Amazon, and we've talked about Amazon having their hands in so many cookie jars that they control everything. They control the warehouse, they control the distribution channel, they control the manufacturing, they control it all. Now, when you take those three in Silicon Valley, and they're determining, they have now elevated themselves to gods. And so now, say you don't want Parler. Say you want something else because you deem Facebook to be the devil. What is available for you? And it's not that you can go and create it because one says, oh, it's a free market. Go and create what you want to create. But they own the servers. They own everything. And so they'll shut you down just like they're shutting down this multi-million-dollar company called Parler.
Well, they own the servers, but they don't own the server creators.
No, that's not true. Stop. So, just like the DNC did when the progressives said, you know what? We're not rolling with you. The DNC went and threatened every single freelancer and every single worker who worked politics and said, if you work with them, we're never going to hire you again. It's exactly what Amazon, exactly what Facebook, and exactly what Google has done. The lawyers, if you watch the news, the lawyers for Parler have jumped ship from them because they've been told you'll never do any work in Silicon Valley if you work with Parler. So I want you to understand. I want you to clearly understand. They have wiped them out. They have told everybody, designers, developers, coders, lawyers, everybody, do not do business with them. So now, if we've opened up that floodgate, they can say that about anybody because who has set the bar? They set it themselves. They said this is the bar under which we can now go and destroy a company. And we, the people,
Eric,
because it benefits us in this moment, are willing to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Eric, I got a news flash for you. This is not anything new. This is not a new precedent. This has been going on in business for over 200 years.
Vincent, you missed everything I just said. Went over your head.
Netscape, all right, was destroyed the same way by Microsoft. The other group was destroyed. The one that had the little anchor on their logo for search engines. And look at AOL, how they were crippled, and America Online crippled and destroyed by these companies who started their monopoly and said, you deal with me and deal with no one else. This has been going on for a long, long
Okay,
time.
so my question to you is this. Here's the question I'm asking you. Is it something we should be tolerating? Now, understand what I'm saying to you. See, Microsoft, different. AOL, different. Different from how they have now taken control of data, of analytics, of narratives. See, that didn't happen like that. See, there's been an evolution from the AOLs, and I'm not disputing at all that there was a monopoly there, right? Which is part of the reason why Microsoft had to pay millions and millions, or hundreds of millions of dollars to Apple, right? Because they were concerned that they were going to be broken up, and so they had to create a competitor. So when Apple was failing, right? You remember that, right? When Macintosh, that's when they were still calling it Apple Mac. When it was failing, where'd that money come from? See, understand how insidious they are. Microsoft gave them money, said you got to stay in business.
Oh, he gave him money because he stole Windows is actually Apple's. I mean,
No, that's not what. No. And I understand that legal thing, but let's understand the maneuvering. The maneuvering was to keep a competitor there. That was the maneuvering.
Well, let's see. He copied and destroyed Netscape, G0.
No, but you're not answering my question, Vincent. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Here's the question I'm asking. One, does everybody see what's happening? Two, do you approve the message?
I do.
So you approve. So the message you approve. I want to be clear. I just want to be crystal clear. You approve the unfettered growth of Amazon, the unfettered growth of Google, the unfettered growth of Facebook, and them colluding to rip down any company they desire. You agree to that?
So for you to say that they were colluding, right?
No, they did collude. They did collude.
Let me get my point.
Eric,
they knew this moment was going to happen, right? That they knew this moment was going to happen, that they created this moment to make what you just said true, is to say that they knew this moment was going to happen, which means they would have to have been a part of the moment happening, right? That they created this perfect storm, and I listened to you specifically, right? That they created this perfect storm so that they could get this moment off. And you and I know.
That's not what I said, Jody. Don't please, sis. Don't misrepresent me. Don't misrepresent me. I didn't say that they. No, I didn't. No, I didn't. No, listen. I did not say. Let us be clear, and then I'll let you finish. I did not say that they created this. I said that they took advantage of it.
The way in which I didn't say you said that.
Okay.
But the way in which the messaging is coming across to say that you said that you asked me to, let's be clear, Jody, it's this moment because of this, right? That would be so far-fetched and so conspiracy theory based, right? Because that would mean that they had to have a part in it, to have this perfect storm.
No, that's not true.
They did have a part in it, though, as far as I'm concerned, right? Here's where their part was.
No, they would not have had to have had a part in it. But what they did do was they took advantage of it, right? So they're like a chess player. So I'll say this: a chess master, right, doesn't necessarily doesn't take his or her opponent's hand and move the pieces across the board, but a grandmaster understands, right, the plausibility, the probability of certain kinds of moves, and is prepared if and when that thing occurs. So there was all kinds of, I'm sure. Look, and here's the other thing. Let us not. Come on, stop. I posted something else on my page, right? I said. I'm paraphrasing again, right? It was a quote from somebody else. It said, my wife asked me, why am I talking so low? And I said, because Mark Zuckerberg is listening. And then the quote goes on to say, Alexa laughed, Siri laughed, and I laughed, right? And so the truth of the matter is this: we know this, because it's been widely reported that all of those things, Google, Siri, Alexa, all are listening, and they're recording data, right? So you don't believe that somewhere there were that through through algorithms, through analytics, and just straight out listening, you don't think that they had a clear understanding that these people, because they were using their platforms to coordinate. They were using their platforms to coordinate. So you don't think that they had an understanding that this was rising up?
So here's the thing, right? Jesus, like you went so many places, right? So
Yeah.
I don't have Siri. I don't have any of that trash in my house, right? Because ain't nobody listening to my thoughts. Ain't nobody listening to my conversations because that's just not happening, right? So I run with that theory. I'll run that they're always listening, right? But that's the choice we make. When you bring it in your house, that's a choice you make. I make not that choice. All right, that's one thing, right? And I hope, this is my hope for the day, that in the course of this conversation, we don't misunderstand, and because where you say, hey, while y'all are paying attention, once again, I wonder if you're ever going to count up how many times you've had to say in 4 years, or even in the last 6 months to a year, that you've had to say while y'all are paying attention to the orange guy, people are doing something over here. Like, when are we going to stop that, right? When are we going to say shit? We should have been paying attention to that orange guy. Because that orange guy has killed that theory up. Stop paying attention to the orange guy. He's not that bad of a guy. He's killed that theory already. He killed it for me a long time ago, but I would be hopeful that more people would understand and stop paying attention to the orange guy, okay? But when you first started talking, you first said that it was liberal. You actually put me in a liberal category, which I am so not a liberal, that we're paying attention, while the liberals are paying attention to the orange guy, these people are doing it. I'm not a liberal, and there's a lot of us that are not liberals. I am not a Democrat. I'm the same thing as you are. But yeah, I've been paying attention to the orange dude, and I would say that if more of you had been paying attention to the orange dude, we wouldn't be in this moment right now. And so let's not act like this moment isn't more important than with Google, like Vincent said, running businesses and holding the whole entire kit and caboodle in this space. That's been happening forever. But you want to know what never happened? A group of people with zip ties and guns never went into the Capitol. That's never happened. That's never happened. And it'll probably, hopefully, never happen again, right? That now when we talked on Friday, this is my conversation from Friday to today, we found out that what you thought, what you and Diane talked about, that there was some good people in the crowd. That the more they learn, the more they find how strategic of a moment it was, how it was planned very well, not with police officers across the freaking country, with administrators of that office dude.
You mean the state representative for West Virginia?
And congressmen all across this country. That they were going to go in, if they found that the FBI has now found where they said they were going to hang Nancy Pelosi, Eric, I don't give a shit about Google. I don't give a damn about Alexa. But that moment, so what if that moment had happened?
Right.
What if that
So
moment
I got you. Right. So, but here's where I am, Jody. So, and I stand with that because I saw some of those reports too, right? About how orchestrated it was, how there was actually a group that was orchestrating it. But like I said, there were some people who are outside of that group that were orchestrating it who showed up just to protest. And I'm gonna stick by that, right? Now, For those people who organized this, for those people who had the zip ties, for those people who wanted to kidnap and do all of those things, listen.
And don't forget the gallows that they built.
Right.
They were intending to murder people.
Right. That I got all of that. But what I'm going to say to you is this, and we can't take lightly this truth that our democracy is fragile. I get that too, right? It was founded on us going to war, and it will be maintained based on us possibly having to go to war, right? I got that too. Having said that, you still can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. So if you're saying Nancy Pelosi, so let's throw the bathwater and the baby out to save Nancy Pelosi, I say no. 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 Not for no. And so when you say, well, we need to re-engineer and rethink our civil liberties, right? Because these people were going to be murdered.
Okay, well, Eric, here's the point. I'm going back to the company. Hold on. Going back to the company that they did. Eric, this is the sole catalyst in which they shut these down. Convenient? Yes. Economically feasible? Yes. But the main reason that they shut them down is because of the insurrection. All the information was passed through these groups. All the messaging that they got to organize was through these groups. They have pushed this propaganda for the last
I'm going to tell you.
And it got to the point now where it had gotten past the simple point of rhetoric. It got to the point where lives were at stake.
Vincent, what I'm saying is this:
through social media to kidnap a governor.
Vincent, but what I'm saying,
now take over the Capitol.
What I'm saying,
it needs to be, the propaganda has to stop.
Vincent, what I'm saying to you is this, right? Hear what I'm saying to you again. When we saw on the news that you had folks show up with semi-automatic weapons, I forgot what state it was in, right? We were horrified, right? We saw those images, we screamed and hollered, right? Then you had a governor who was threatened, right? Her life was threatened. You've had AOC threatened. You've had Ilhan Omar's life turned upside down because of threats on these same social media platforms. What I'm saying to you is this: they could have fucking shut it down then. They did it.
Yeah, wait a minute. I agree.
Wait a minute. No, right, so they could have, if we're going to take this road, right, they could, and I'm saying to you, they didn't shut it down because it served some better fucking good for the people. They shut it down because it allows them to continue their monopoly under our noses while we are angry and upset about what happened on Wednesday. That's all I'm saying to you.
Okay, Eric, and in that same instance, we have talked on this show about the Black Lives Matter and how they have been protesting and all this other great stuff, and they have not made changes until this man put his knee on a man's neck until he died. They could have went through all of that other stuff, but they didn't make this drastic and dramatic change until the rest of the country got fed up. It's the same thing. They could have been shut these other people down, but they didn't do it until they put the country and democracy at risk. And that is the level, and that is, I'm sorry, but that is sometimes the desensitization that we have, that it takes extreme measures for things to happen. And that's what they did with these people. It had gotten too extreme. We're almost at the brink of a civil war because of propaganda. So, the first thing in terms of military strategy is that you break up the communication. And that's what they did.
So first, let us understand this, right? Let us understand this. For anybody who understands, because they were using words like coup, right? In order to effectuate a coup, you need to have the military. You need to have the military. We know this, right?
That's true.
That's right. And there was never a threat at all, that he had the military. So this
Eric,
come
they
on.
have identified 15 military trained people.
Wait, no.
The one that got shot.
Be
The one that got shot in Dallas.
Be clear before your hyperbole. I'm not talking about individuals. I'm talking about the military. So if you wait a minute, because I'm not gonna let you go with this hyperbole. We're talking about the military. So let me ask you a question. The Joint Chiefs, where were they? Where were they? Whose side were they on? Were they on his side? No. Thank you. So the people that you're talking about, the people who may have been a part of or were a part of the military, I'm talking about the military. So don't use it.
No, please. Let's not split hair with this.
Oh, I'm not.
Now, hold it. I did let you finish. They had. It was organized. Do we not agree? They had walkie-talkies, communications. And
sure they did.
Yes, they did.
Sure.
They even showed it. They showed the trained people on that site and doing the organization. Did they not?
I'm not. No. I'm not arguing that point either, Vincent.
Okay, then what do you have to disqualify them? Vincent. By saying that this group of highly trained people organizing a mob to storm the Capitol is not a military, or that was not a coup?
Vincent, because in order to... Vincent, come on, stop. Go look it up, Vincent. Right? Go look it up.
I'll do that
before I allow you to go with that narrative. Come on, man. You gotta be more responsible than that.
Go ahead. I'm listening. Tell me, what does not qualify this as a coup d'etat?
Vincent, let me ask you, do you really believe that those people who went in there were going to overthrow the government? I'm not saying that they were going to take hostages, they were going to murder people, they were going to do all those things, right?
Eric, they had a man with a truckload of explosives.
Right, but we've had that before, Vincent. We've had Timmy McVeigh. We've had we've had murderous people in this country terrorize people forever. The question that I'm asking you is this: do you really believe? Because what I'm saying is you need to have the military in order to seize the country, right? Because we're talking about a coup d'etat. Wait a minute, because we're talking about a coup d'etat, right? And so what I'm saying to you is this. I'm asking you this question. Do you believe that those people had all of what it was required to take over our government?
Yes.
Vincent, stop it.
So you're trying to tell me that since it's not a foreign country, or because it's not a quote-unquote with rank and file serial, or what you would deem to be a military, that this was not a coup? Eric, brother, are you incredibly naive?
Vincent?
They had that.
Vincent.
And they had it with the express purpose when Donald Trump told them, yes, go do it. You can't do this by being nice. You have to take it by force. Giuliani said that we're going to have a trial by combat. These people were there. They had weapons, Eric. They had explosives, Eric. They had communication and giving people marching orders on how to storm in. And they killed 4 people.
I'm not suggesting they didn't do all of that, Vincent.
That was an organized and orchestrated and very unsuccessful coup. They were even chanting and shouting to kill Mike Pence.
Vincent?
Yes.
We're going to disagree.
Okay, I can agree that we disagree with this. But yet, but go ahead. Go ahead, Josie.
And I'm not trying to be funny, right? Like, so I don't care about Michael Pence, and I don't care about Nancy Pelosi. I mean, I'm not saying that I don't care if their lives have been taken, but just like, I think that I'm already concerned, right? Because if the moment had happened, as if they would say, no, I don't believe that they would have been able to overtake the government, no. And they would have never been able to defeat our military, right? That would have just been the bloodbath of stupid Americans laid out on the floors of Congress and on the lawns of the Capitol, right? All right, cool. But at the moment, listen, as far as I'm concerned, the moment happened. And we talk very often about moment was more about the subjugation of us than it was the government.
Yes.
And I think that you need to, I think that's much more important than a monopoly amongst the big tech companies. Who gives a shit, right? They allow him to get on their platform. They allowed him to create this moment. Like, they, too, should be held responsible for allowing the creation of this moment and what that meant to us. That they allowed him to spew, and his people to spew, and other people to spew racist theories, talk about our vote, call it illegitimate, say they should be thrown out. All of
they should be
that
killed.
Building up, and we were saying, oh, that's just the orange dude, and he's just misbehaving. Again, he was allowed to, because no one's going to convince me of this, he was allowed to create a cult, wasn't he? Right,
yes, he was.
Right, yes. Our bases, and so that moment, to me, about us and our community and where we are in our community and where they want us to be is much more frightening to me than if Google takes over and this one gets this and that. Like, those were thousands, over 10,000 people that we're in that moment in time. To me, seems much more important than any of the rest of any of this conversation. And the fact that we are having this conversation, to me, that's the diversion. That they got us talking about this here matters none at all to our lives, right? Because I ain't going to make 5 cents off of Google. You ain't going to make 10 cents off of Apple. We're just in this moment. We're fighting. Look at us fighting for Google and Apple and whatever the other company is. Look at us fighting about that, right? When they were standing there to take just a minuscule right of a vote away. I think that's much more important. And I think that you guys, while you often accuse us of being so focused on the orange dude that we don't see it, I feel like they've got you guys in a diversion and that you guys are falling for it, that we're making jokes about it, and that was a horrible moment. If someone had been murdered in the Capitol, if a congresswoman or a senator, it would have been bad, right? But it's not bad to all the black people that get killed by cops every day, right? Like, there's no equality there. It still wouldn't have felt like we were doing any better or we were any more equal than any other time, right? But that was about us. That was the group that says that Nancy Pelosi should die because she's effectuating policy, even though she's not. Even though we know that the Democratic Party don't care about us, and some white people don't think that. They think they do. They think that they are promoting us. They think that they are helping us take over and take their stuff. And so they were willing to hang us. They were willing to kill Pitt because they feel like he's standing up for us. I think that's just more of a problem than any of those problems you mentioned this morning.
Thank you. And if I can add to what Jody was saying, one of the biggest reasons why I said, and I was happy that they shut these things down, was because of that particular reason. This insurrection was the simple fact that now that black people are starting to come into this awakening and taking the legal and constitutional right to effect change, they don't like the outcome, and they are going to take it over by force, which means that they have now put in jeopardy my life, your life, and the life of our children. And they're using this as a platform to give disinformation and misinformation about us, about policies, and about things that can give us what we've been wanting for 400 freaking years.
So what I'm going to say to you again is this, right? Who is the arbiter of what we now call truth? So if the idea is we're going to shut you down if you're giving misinformation, right? I would dare say that that Facebook probably has to shut down some 30% or more of the current accounts they have. So okay, wait a minute, wait. So let's get to it. Let's shut them down. So if that is it, so this is what I'm saying to you, right? The whole Donald Trump thing.
You're talking about news sources, Eric, right?
What?
You're saying if Facebook or Twitter or whatever, right, are shutting down these news sources that's giving fake news, right?
No, not just news sources. No, Jody.
They use supremacists, you nationalists, you white supremacists, come over and take over the Capitol.
Look for it. At all. That is just the media. I'm saying everybody, and we've talked about it here on this show, right? Everybody is a newscaster. Everybody who has a social media page is a newscaster. I
think the term that they use is contributor.
Right. So they use the word contributor. I'm using the word newscaster, right? So you're casting news, right? Fake or not, you're putting it out there. So we can talk right now, about all of the anti-vaxxers, right? That are putting out stuff.
And that's just what I was thinking of, yeah.
Right? They're all putting it out. Facebook should shut all of them down, right? All of them.
Eric, listen, I don't know how you feel about it, right? And at this juncture, because of what we saw on Wednesday, right? Yeah, I do feel like...
Wow.
Listen,
Woof!
I always felt like those platforms were for entertainment, right? Because here's the thing. I don't get my news from Facebook. Sometimes, and I always look for when someone shares the story, let's say. I always go to the left and bottom to see what's the source, right? If it's some off-brand source, I really don't want to read your news because I know that that's crazy on social media, right? That everybody now has some kind of blog or, right.
Right.
Nor do they go through the ethics of fact-checking.
Talk about the orange juice, right? Let's just keep with vaccination. Let's just keep with the COVID and what it has done. The millions of people it hasn't infected, right? And the hundreds of thousands of people it has killed. And they allowing people to come on to any platform and talk anti-vaccination. Yeah, they should be shut down. And maybe this moment might be the start of a creation to shut that fake shit down.
There you go.
So then where does it end? So wait a minute.
What they're saying is based on your opinion and based on the opinion of Facebook, going past what their mission statement is, which is to give people the power to share and make the world more open and connected. Based on whatever your belief is, if we don't like your beliefs, then we're going to shut it down. So if you're against abortion and we're for abortion,
there we go. Come on now.
Well, no, that's an apple and an orange.
No, it's not.
That was apples and oranges.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. There's a big difference. There's a big
difference in a personal opinion and belief and a monetary right of self versus fact and truth.
Okay, so wait a minute. So no, wait a minute, Diane. Wait, guys. Let's stay on the abortion thing for a second. So there's a scientific argument out there about when life begins, right? There's a scientific argument.
And that scientific argument, right? And that scientific argument has already been argued and denoted. That's why there is, right, an abortion right, right? So
No. There's an abortion right because you had enough politicians on one side, right, who passed laws. That's all. If the other ones had enough people, they would overturn it, which is why everybody's so freaked out about a 6-4 Supreme Court right now. So no, it's not about that. So Mike, so let's stay where I am now, because this is the bath water. You want to throw the baby out, Donald Trump, but I'm talking about the bath water now. So now, when you have these debates on social media and content passed around abortion and life and when it begins and all those things, so people over here say, well, that information that you're putting up is not factual, it's not true, right? And if Facebook now is the arbiter of truth, and they're looking, going, well, okay, we don't want people sharing false information, and we'll shut you down if you share false information. Well, then what information is true and false in that fight? And we can go down the line.
Your opinion, right?
Einstein said,
false information is, right, I am 51. And Diane says, no, Jody's 52. 3 months before I turned 52. That's false information, right? My belief on whether abortion, when a life starts, that's an opinion, right? My belief on whether abortion is a sin or not, right? That's an opinion, right? I'm talking about when an anti-vaxxer says, hey, your toe's going to fall off. If you take the damn vaccination, your toe's going to fall off. Take that shit off.
or if you take the coronavirus, you'll become a 5G antenna.
What we should be paying attention to is that when this world is in this different space, right? Like, we're in a time we've never been in. We're over almost 400,000 people have died of a virus, right? And millions of people are getting it, right? And the numbers are going up, right? Ain't nobody got time for conspiracy theories. And so we keep going. If we keep having this conversation, we're going to keep twisting it, right? It's going to go from opinions to what conspiracy theories are, to what fact and data is. All right, I'm good for that. I'm good for that. But abortion is more of a religious issue in this country. Who believes that when life forms? Who believes that abortion is a sin? And
who believes that it's murder?
All those Christian philosophy on the court. That's how it's been played, right? The more right wing of the judicial that we can get, they're very Christian. They might stop it. That too is still that's what I hate this country. That too is what has twisted this world in this way, right?
So
when you're talking about a platform,
going back to Trump, them excluding him from Facebook is just the precursor of what they will do to other people, depending on whether they trust their belief, believe in their belief, or believe in the opposite.
No.
And if you think,
please let Diane finish, please.
Because they shut down Trump, that they won't come after other people. You are delusional, because tons of people have been in Facebook jail for various nonsense that they put up on Facebook. So you can't tell me, and some of the stuff that they put up were factual things, because they changed the narrative of what was getting out. So if you think that because they're doing it,
Diane, you're trying to prove a point in real time, right? So you're saying that the people that they put in Facebook jail, that you know that all of that is factual, that is not true, right? You don't know that. You don't know that every person that they all of it was that they were telling the truth, right?
That's not what I said, Jody. What I said was there are people who've been put into Facebook jail for minor things less than what Trump has done. So you can't tell me
You telling the things that
Facebook is not using their own
Facebook now, and the things that they said were true.
Facebook
And all I'm
is
saying
their
is
own opinions about who they decide will get information out. It's as simple as that. So if they don't agree with your platform, they have the right now to shut you down. That's what you're saying. Because they've done it to Trump, they will do it to everybody else. So
No, what I'm saying about that, Diane, is sorry.
And freedom of speech looks like. Does it look like freedom of speech over here because we agree with it, or does it look like freedom of speech over here because we don't agree with it? Because those people get permits from every city to march down the streets to have KKK marches, and people say that's freedom of speech, and we can't stop them. Because if we do, we'd have to stop Black Lives Matter from marching on the other side of the street.
There are totally different.
I would argue right
And hold on, Jody, just a second. First and foremost, that we have to look at is that Facebook is not the platform of freedom of speech. Facebook and all those others are privately companies that give you access so that you can use your speech, in which they have guidelines, and those guidelines they enforce more and more because Facebook is constantly inundated with lawsuits. Now, the other thing that we have to look at is a simple fact of saying that no, not what they did to Donald Trump they will do to you. No, they are doing to Donald Trump, finally what they do to everybody else.
Have a mission and guidelines based on what other people want. You're stupid. Companies put together missions and guidelines based on what they want and their opinion of what they want.
Of course, but you agree to the terms that you will follow the guidelines, and when you don't, you get in Facebook jail.
Diane, do you think they should have shut Trump down?
No, it was a political move. If they were so,
I didn't ask you that. Do you think that Trump and the things that Trump said and what Trump did, you don't think that there should be a penalty to that?
I need to finish my answer.
Sure.
They should not have shut him down. If they were so concerned with the rhetoric it wouldn't have been a month they would have done it. They would have done it months ago. When he was putting it out, when he was spewing lies that they were fact-checking, when his family was putting it out, they should have shut it down then. This
Agreed.
So that's shut it down. Right? That's my point. Only. A political move only because they are... Go ahead, Jody.
Trump was doing last month, right? His rhetoric. Right? It meant nothing. They didn't shut Trump down because of his rhetoric. Because his rhetoric has been his rhetoric from the beginning, right? Every now and then they tell him they delete a post, right? They didn't shut Trump down because he has bad rhetoric. They shut Trump down because he made a move, right? And that move created violence, right? We are definitely throwing apples and oranges in a space they never said that they tried to shut him down because they don't agree with his rhetoric. Because we've been doing it, his rhetoric hasn't changed. But there was something else that happened that was bigger than just mere rhetoric, right? There was a moment where the rhetoric changed into a plan. And then the plan changed into a movement. And then the movement turned into violence. And if he was the leader of the plan and the movement, what were their choices? I don't think that's the same as you saying if you should go on your Facebook page and say, I think abortion is a sin, that's a shutdown. Or that you believe in some legislation isn't real, that they should shut you down. I think we are definitely apples and oranging this moment to argue once again the fight for Trump's right.
All right.
Crazy.
So listen, I want to move on to something else. Diane, and I encourage everybody who's got an iPhone to get an account with Clubhouse, which is an emerging social media platform. If you guys don't know about it, it allows for you to enter into these talk rooms, right? Chat rooms, and engage in conversation or listen to conversations that are taking place about a myriad of things. It allows you to also create your own room and to share information with folks. What I like about it, unlike Facebook or Twitter, is that you have, there's a voice and there's instantaneous responses, right, and interaction. So last night I happened to be in an ADOS post, right? So look, and I'm looking at this thing always through the lens of a foundational Black American, and so I understand the role of the corporation white supremacy, right? They got a mission statement, right? And I'm looking at everything that's going on and realizing that no matter how much you move the shells around, the end game is to subjugate Black Americans, right? So in being in this room yesterday, they were talking about ADOS and in the African diaspora, and you had immigrants who were in the thread, who were sharing their anger or frustration with ADOS because it is not inclusive enough for them. And in particular, they were talking about H-1B visa, right? And I guess Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore, who are the founders of ADOS, were saying that we need to dial all of that back because companies are using that to marginalize Black Americans and to bring other folks over under the auspices of not having enough talent in these specialized industries, in particular IT. And so there was this heavy debate about that. And so much like you have the Proud Boys and other folks who are concerned about Black folks rising up and taking a little bit more to pie, you now have these immigrants who are here on the backs of what foundational Black Americans have done, right? Because prior to the civil rights movement, they didn't want to be here. They didn't want to be here. The passing of affirmative act. They didn't want to be here through those struggles, right? They didn't want to identify with us at all. But then after we fought those fights, after we had dogs sicked on us and we had folks hung and buried alive and all the other atrocities that occurred, right? And so now they look and go, well, we can come and take advantage of the opportunities, the land of opportunity as provided for by the blood, sweat, and tears of foundational Black Americans. And so I just want to get...
immigrants, the opinion of Clubhouse, or what? Which one? Opinion
Well,
of what?
first, if you're in Clubhouse, I'd like to know
That is a lot to unpack.
what you think about Clubhouse, but what you think about well, first, what your thoughts are about H-1B, and then what your thoughts are about this African diaspora and whether or not ADOS has a claim that is independent of a more universal claim that has to deal with the corporation white supremacy that extends beyond America.
Well, in regards to the H-1B visa, I think one of the biggest problems that we have in America, like any household, if we don't take care of ourselves first, how are we able to extend our services to other people? The reason why, and you can't say that there aren't tons of people who want to be employed here in the United States because you've already seen the record numbers that are currently unemployed. So that is an issue when you start to look at a visa to allow people to come in, immigrants to come in to work here. And I understand that they're looking for opportunities that may not be available in their country. But I also think that there should be a limit on the number that can come in, period, within a year, and the time span that they can work here as well, because it does take away opportunities for people here in the United States. You can't find people in the United States, then you have to look at why is it that you can't find them? Are they not trained for the positions? Is the salary inadequate? Those are other things, but there are people to fill those positions. And H-1B should be something that is a last resort and limited.
Well, there was an article that was in USA Today a while ago that talked about the fact that out of all of and they call them blacks, in say the tech industry, right, that it's about 2%. But in that 2%, they're talking about immigrant blacks as well, not foundational blacks. So when we talk about people of color or blacks or when to fold them in, here's a case where corporations are using this legislation to shaft foundational black Americans, right, and give the appearance of meeting whatever quota they may have to meet in bringing immigrant blacks over. Now, in the discussion in the thread or in the room, what they were trying to say to the young lady, and I said it to her too, I don't have anything personally against you. Franchises black Americans. And so for you to recognize that this policy disenfranchises black Americans, but you want us to sit back and allow the policy to flourish, makes no sense to me. Because then it says you don't care about me. You're worried about me caring about you. And I'm saying to you, okay, I want you to know about this policy. And I want you to understand that there are graduates of amazing schools who are black Americans, who are qualified for these positions. But these corporations are saying that they can't find workers. And so they're using H-1B to go out and get temporary
people that can implement laws that state that a certain percentage of positions have to be filled by Americans. It would be the same if it was on the city level and you say you have to reside in this city in order to be employed. We should have that same thing implemented on a federal level, and it should be pushed with companies that are based in the United States, especially that a certain percentage, if not 80 to 90% of the employees should be United States residents and citizens.
You like to weigh in on that, Vincent?
No, because I agree with Diane. And I think she said it eloquently, concisely, and yeah, I mean, she's absolutely right.
So if you go back to companies and they say, well, we don't have enough tech people or people with STEM education and or degrees to fill these positions, but yet you're able to go overseas to get employees, the look back should be at our educational system as to why we're not providing and turning out people for these positions that are available.
Absolutely. And that's not difficult to do, right? The prison industrial complex does it, right? They can determine based on a third grader how many jail for children in third grade, how many jails they're going to need to build, how many cells they're going to need to have. They can project the laundry contracts and the catering contracts for the food. So why these why the folks in the tech industry can't use those same kinds of algorithms to determine, you know what, the way that we're going right now, the way that we're educating Americans, in particular black Americans, they're not going to be qualified for these emerging jobs. So we now have to infuse money and resources to ensure that we have a viable workforce. Because I'm going to tell you, it is a national, what do they call it? Security issue. Mm-hmm. It is a national security issue, and it needs to be looked at as such.
Absolutely. And that goes to the United States training Iraqis and Saudi Arabians and in aircraft and flying planes and stuff. There are certain things that we should.
But it was Diane had me in this. She tagged me and told me to go in this thing.
It's my fault, huh?
It is your fault, Diane, because I was in there until 4 o'clock this morning.
Oh my God!
I was literally I was laying in bed on my left side. I had my left cheek on the pillow, and I had the phone propped up on the other pillow, and I'm talking this. I couldn't even sit up. I was so tired. I'm lying down talking.
Way too much information.
I'm lying down and I'm talking, and I'm just like, and I'm dozing off, and I'm like, I'm trying to hang in there with you guys. But it was a great conversation to have. And again, it's important for folks to understand it's not about you, it's about us. See, but whenever we want to do something for us, people always talk about how it impacts them. But they never focus on if you just look through history, all of these other folks who are part of the diaspora, they weren't there. They weren't there with Black Americans during all of these struggles. In fact, they were kicking our backs in. They were talking about how lazy we were, how trifling we were, how only if we worked harder and applied some rugged individualism, we could be doing better. And so they looked down on us. They talked about us, and many of them still do.
So true.
So going back to Clubhouse, just so you know, and we talked about this briefly a little more than briefly yesterday, Eric. Clubhouse is a social media app for venture capitalists where they can gather and mingle because everybody's being quarantined at home. And the app is invite only, just so you know. So you can apply, but somebody has to basically sponsor you to get in. So you and I, Eric, talked about, this platform eventually going to a place where there's going to be fees and stuff like that. And I think that's what's going to happen at a certain point when they work out the rest of their tweaks. Anybody who wants to get in is going to have to pay to get in. And those of us who are already in will be grandfathered in.
Well, what I would say to you guys, too, is if you have an iPhone, just get it. Even if you don't use it. Because much like when folks got Twitter or people finally just started, I'm talking particularly about Black Americans, got websites, right? The website you wanted, you couldn't get, so you had to have a hyphen, or you had to change it a little bit, or the name you wanted for Twitter, you had to change a little bit because you couldn't get it. Right now, because they're still in beta, you can actually go and probably get your name. So I got at Eric Dawson, right? So just get it and squat on it, and it's yours, right? So, and it doesn't cost anything. So I would encourage everybody to do that, because when we talk about being a broadcaster, right, you want to be able to speak to this world, right? And so take advantage of it. It's emerging, and I'm telling you, it's going to be huge.
Eric, if I could, and we talked about some of the members of that militia or that group. The United States Army just released to ABC News and National News, NPR, Army investigate officer who led group to the Washington rally. United States Special Operations Officer, a captain in Psych Ops, led a group of people from her home in North Carolina to the Capitol. Captain Emily Rainey, involved in last week's involvement in the United Nations Capitol, but she says she was acting within military regulations and being a private citizen and not on duty.
Okay, so again, I'm not saying that they're not individuals who are part of law enforcement there. We talked about it, right? That some of the people were late getting there in terms of law enforcement because they had to go home and put their uniforms back on after being at the insurrection.
After being at the rally,
right?
That's why most of them were late. Yeah.
Right. So we talked about that. I'm not. All I'm saying to you is this. The only conversation that I'm having is when you talk about, or when the media is talking about, a coup, because a coup talks about specifically seizing governmental power. A coup is not.
Coup is the successful seizement of government
of governmental power. So let us be clear.
That's why they call this an insurrection, because
Right,
we're not
but that's not that, and that's my point. So when I said to you, I asked you, did you think that they'd be able to do this? And you argued with me, yes. And I said, come on, Vincent, let us not go with that hyperbole. I'll call it an insurrection.
You asked me, do I think it was a coup? It was an attempted coup.
Right, but Vincent, what I'm saying is this. Okay. So look, I'm not gonna, unless it has some reasonableness of succeeding, I'm not gonna call it that, right? That's kind of like my son getting in a makeshift airplane in the backyard that doesn't have an engine in it, and he goes, "Dad, I'm getting ready to fly across the coast," right? I'm like, "Yeah, no, it's not gonna happen." And what I'm saying to you is this: that insurrection didn't have the engine that it needed to be considered an attempted coup. It needed the engine called the military, and it didn't have that. It never had it. So to call it, to say that it was an attempted coup, is like saying he attempted to fly across the Atlantic when he's sitting there in a wooden airplane.
With that argument is this: they had trained people at
doesn't matter
communication and weaponry.
It doesn't matter. In order for it to have, and so yes, you might have had carnage, you might have had all of those things, but you would not have had an overtaking of governmental power. The only way
which does not qualify. That is the only thing, since it was unsuccessful, did not qualify it as a coup.
Okay.
Agreed.
So, if you plan to travel next year, you might need a vaccine passport. Several technology groups have begun developing smartphone apps and systems for individuals to upload details of their COVID-19 tests and vaccinations, creating digital credentials that could be shown in order to enter concert venues, stadiums, movie theaters, offices, or even countries.
So now I'm going to say this again, and I'm in conversation with my doctors, and probably within the next couple of days I'm going to get the vaccine, right? Again, we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? So yes, we want to have. We people need to be vaccinated. We need to figure this out, but we can't be emotional about it, and we cannot sacrifice our privacies, right? There are certain things that, and I get the argument, because I make it all the time, about the better good, right? The better good, right? And that we are part of a whole, and that we need to think communally. We have these privacies, and so now to have a card of some sort that has this information about you, I'm concerned, and this is where guys.
But here is the thing: this qualifies under the HIPAA laws. The only thing that you're actually showing is that you were vaccinated. The same thing that you have to show proof, from your children going to school, that they have the requirements of vaccination.
Okay, look, again, if that's all, but I just want to make sure, and this is why, guys, it is important when we go and when we vote, that we vote for people who have our best interests at heart, right? Because here's an instance now where, these 5,000 pages in a bill that nobody ever really reads, that we have people in there fighting, protecting us.
Okay. A little bit more background on this. So the Common Trust Network, which is an incentive by a Geneva-based nonprofit project, and the World Economic Forum, partnered together with airlines companies, JetBlue, Swiss Airlines, United Airlines, Virgin Airlines, so that they, in hundreds of health systems across from the United States to Aruba, to create this app that would allow users to upload medical data such as COVID-19 test results, or eventually proof of vaccination by the hospital or medical professional, generating a health certificate or a pass form or QR code that could be shown to authorities without revealing sensitive information. The travel For travel, the app lists health pass requirements at the point of departure and arrival based on your itinerary. You can be tested every time you cross a border. You cannot be vaccinated every time you cross a border, says the organization, but you can be tested. So which means that if you get somewhere and you have a layover in a particular country, and during that layover while you're at the airport, in order to reboard, they're saying that you have to be retested. So say for instance, somebody between the time that you left New York and your 8 hours maybe to Paris is a layover, you get tested, and now at that time you're tested again, or they see that you're positive, you could be stuck at a layover somewhere that you will not financially be able to handle, because you could be stuck there, depending on their laws, for 2 weeks quarantined wherever they decide to quarantine you at when you go into other countries. Go ahead, Eric.
Oh no, I'm just saying, look, just be real careful, guys. If you've ever saw a person who, taking a piece is too good to be true, right? Somebody puts their bishop or their knight right in the center of the board, and you look and go, oh man, that's easy taken. I'm going to go ahead and take that, and you take it to your own peril, right? Because and I'm saying, let us just be careful. Let us be thoughtful, whether or not we're cheering on, the flexing of these tech companies, right? Or or how they now want to move with this. Because remember what I said to you. I said this a couple years ago. You'll remember I said this, Diane. 85% of everything that is sold in this country is sold based on fear. Mm-hmm. I'll say that to you again. 85% of everything that is sold in this country is sold based on fear. And so right now, I
guess the other 15% is sold based on sex.
Right. So now, think about how fearful we are about COVID, how fearful we are about what happened on Wednesday, and all I'm saying,
I have to agree with that. There are bad actors involved. That's why they always say, let the buyer beware.
So, anyway, hey, this is pretty cool. I'm in the kitchen. Man, I hope me moving around isn't distracting everybody, but it allows me to multitask.
Hungry, they said.
Huh?
Hungry.
Who hungry?
Oh, they said they're hungry? Hey, listen, you know what? Know what I may start doing?
I don't know what.
If you come by the bakery, you can get a sampler coming straight out the oven.
Nice.
Right? Diane, what you think about that? Right out there. It smells amazing in here. I wish that there was like smell-o-phone or
smell-o-vision.
Smell-o-net.
Bugs Bunny.
Something. But it smells amazing in here. All I'm baking today is peach. We have enough of the other flavors. But I'm baking some peach cobbler today.
Okay, so now the next thing is the Capitol rioters are now losing their jobs. The social media to start to identify them.
Who's losing their jobs?
Rioters.
Oh yes. Oh no. We can't call and I agree with Vincent and Jody on this. They went beyond rioting. Right? So words do matter. So insurrectionists.
Okay, Vincent, mute your phone. So Wednesday's mob which sought to disrupt Congress's vote to certify the president-elect Joe Biden, forced lawmakers and staff to shelter and evacuate while delaying the electoral count. 5 people died, including one Trump supporter who was shot by the Capitol police officer, and one officer sustained injuries. Will Hathaway called last week, and he talked about how the police chief, the Capitol police chief, should resign. He has now since resigned. What a former Capitol police officer stated, and he talked about the different levels of officers that come in way before. There's like 2 other units of officers that come in way before you get involved with the National Guard that were also not called. And the former Capitol officer stated, he said, look, we're used to large crowds. So there is absolutely no reason as to why this was not under control, except that he believes that it was an inside job and they were helping from the inside to allow it to happen. So since then, several people are starting to lose their job. One individual arrested was Bradley Ruckelscales, who was a CEO of a Chicago-based marketing data company. He was charged with unlawful entry. That's it. And he tweeted on Thursday evening that it placed the individual on leave of absence while they assess it further. And Russ Scales took to Twitter himself and said that he apologized for his actions, writing in a statement that he followed, in quotes, followed hundreds of others through an open set of doors to the Capitol, in which he called a moment of extremely poor judgment. My decision to enter the Capitol was wrong, and I am deeply regretful to have done so. He continued, it was the single most worst personal decision of my life. I have no excuse for my actions, and I wish that I could have take them back.
Okay.
That was his statement. So do you believe that he should be fired? Oh, wait. But before you answer that, one more. There was another one in Chicago. Real estate agent Libby Andrews' job has been terminated by her employee. #property photo of a champagne flute caption. Storming the Capitol, a good glass of champagne is needed. Property, the Facebook post Thursday said it had received a tremendous amount of outreach regarding the actions of one of the agents, Libby Andrews, and that it was terminating this agent. One Texas attorney, Paul Davis, no longer employed by Goosehead Insurance Company. They announced on Thursday, he posted videos on social media stating, in one of his videos saying, quotes, we're all actively break into the Capitol. So question to you, do you believe these people should be fired for their actions?
Sure. I think that you can apologize, right? And you should. But just because you apologize, right? So you murder somebody and you apologize. You could be sincere in your apology, right? But you still go to jail. You still get punished, right? You steal something, you apologize for it. You could be sincere. I don't know a person's heart, right? And to me, it's not really even about that. It's about what they did, and that there are consequences to actions, right? So yeah, I think that they should be terminated.
I think they should be terminated. I think that, that this disingenuous show of remorse and contrite it's bull. It's platitude. They're not sorry for what they did. They're just sorry that they got caught. They knew what the heck they were doing.
I'm saying the ones who broke the no. Let us be clear. The ones who broke the law, right? So the ones who went into the Capitol, the ones who destroyed property, the ones who anybody who broke the law
How about the ones who built that gallows?
Wait a minute.
Let's look at the ones who spreaded all that propaganda on their social media page. Let's look at the ones who. Go ahead.
I have a question. Diane, the first one that you read, I think it was the woman. I was walking in and out of my office. Didn't you say she was just there?
She stated that she was, let me see, the woman. She was a real estate agent. She stated that after storming the Capitol, in quotes, a good glass of champagne is, they were terminating her. She didn't make a comment. Yeah.
It was the other. I was going to go back to what Eric said, right? That if she was someone, I didn't know that you stormed in, so I'm assuming that means into the building. Because to Eric's point, right? The person that was the Jobo that was just there because he's a Trump supporter or whatever, and was on the lawn, and someone gets your face on social media, so I don't feel like you should lose your job for that. You were just somewhere. Might not have been the best place to be, but damn. I don't think that everyone that was at that rally should lose their job. No, I don't. Just if you storm the the building and you have some zip ties in your pocket, then, I don't know.
Yeah, but and they may lose their job, but to if they do, my dad always said to me, it is better to be above suspicion than it is to be correct. So it may have been okay to be there, right? But you didn't leave yourself above suspicion. And so now you're jammed up. And that's on you.
Wow.
So remember that. It is better to be above suspicion than it is to be correct.
So, Cobble Hill School in Brooklyn is being investigated by the Department of Education because apparently they have been giving grades and teachers have been commenting on a report card for a student who is not registered at the school. So the student is currently in a private school and has been in a private school, has never enrolled in this school at all. And the case came about when DIFAS came to the house because they wanted to know why the student had not been attending school, but yet the parent was receiving report cards from the school, and she said she called them several times as to this had to be an error. And she had teachers who made comments on the report card about the student who never existed, was a phantom student. So there are a lot of things that's happening with this virtual learning and a lot of glitches that should not be happening. What are your thoughts on keeping up with these students that are going to be falling so far behind in our communities? And where do we step in to fill in the gap? Because the Department of Education and the school can't grade kids that are actually there. They're giving grades to students who have else are they screwing up.
Before I answer the question, we just got another caller. Caller, go.
Hey, I just wanted to comment on whether somebody should lose their job because they were protesting, whether they did anything wrong or not. Precedent has already been set. Colin Kaepernick lost his job. Like, he didn't lose through contract or whatever political spin they put on it, but he hasn't been able to be employed in his field of employment. So precedent is already set. You protest, you can lose your job, and you won't be working in that field no more. But that's all I wanted to say. Have a good day, guys.
That's what I love about Mike. You know what? You're 100% right. That we do see that has occurred. And so, like I said,
But Eric, that goes back to talking about Facebook. So now you leave it up to a company to decide that you're protesting for whatever you think your rights should be, and the company is saying, no, we don't agree with that, so we're going to remove you from the company.
As long as companies can do that if they have moral PR policies or standards of guidelines. They are within their rights to do it. If they do not agree with your stance, then the whole thing is that the people before signing on to these companies have read and agreed to those terms.
So then you're saying that every time somebody protests or every time somebody goes out and marches, they risk losing their jobs.
Correct.
Yeah, like I said, it is always better to be above suspicion than it is to be correct, right? So, can you go march? Yep. But now...
Are you dealing with the consequences of it?
Yeah. So now there may be these consequences.
Black America.
Right? There may be these consequences. And you can fight now, and it doesn't even mean that you can't go fight. Right, to maintain your employment, you got to everybody at that point has to make a decision about whether it's worth it to them to do that.
And with that being said, hats off to those at the risk of losing their jobs went out there and protested for Black Lives Matter, for Me Too, for criminal justice. Hats off to them, because now white America now knows what you were threatened with.
That's absolutely right.
So we talked about this briefly before, and there was a bill and a law put in place in the state of New Jersey requiring that LGBTQ curriculum be invoked inside of the school system. So just recently, last week, Assemblywoman Keanu Annette Keanu, which represents part of Union County, Angela McKnight, Brittany Timberlake, had the governor sign off on the Amistad Commission, which is a 23-member panel named to honor enslaved Africans who gained their freedom from overthrowing the crew of the slave ship in Amistad 1839. And under this statute, it is now going to provide funding. This bill, which was Bill 83601, was amended and it's now law because Murphy is off to create a commission to officially allocate in, but not the Department of Education, but the means of the commission to give more, or actually to create through a separate line item through legislation in an annual appropriations act.
Okay. Is that a question?
Well, here.
The Homicide Commission continues to serve New Jersey's teachers K through 12, which I know is a lie, but the inclusion is the purpose is to include Black history in the education with a full picture of the American history, ensuring that the Homicide Commission has the tools and financial resources it needs to create, and most importantly, raise awareness of its curriculum throughout the committee.
Right. So, right, because they were attacked in California when you had those folks there say, you know what, we want to institute, the 1619 project into our curriculum. And the federal government stepped in and said, no, we're not doing that. And more specifically, right, so that I'm not hedging, Donald Trump said, no, we're not doing that. We're going to teach about 1776. And the way the black carcass, but some of these other do-nothing organizations, as well as ADOS, to say, you know what, enough is enough. We need to attack this curriculum.
Well, Murphy also an expansive corporate tax break package on Thursday with programs that authorize the state to award $14 billion in tax incentives this coming year, $11.5 billion of that for businesses and developers, $2.6 billion for film credits, among other incentives in the midst of our financial crisis. So there are no breaks for property owners, but the breaks will be going to the corporations again.
Well, hey, listen, that's the way the cookie crumbles when you don't own it. Right? So, we need people fighting for us, and we don't have it.
The Garden State borrowed $4 billion to balance its budget amid the revenue losses caused by the pandemic. Taxpayers will have to pay that back with interest.
Yes, but we're borrowing from ourselves, which means they're basically putting their own money to balance their budget, which the interest payments would be relatively low. We would have to do it anyway, which is one of the things he implemented, that, 1.25% tax for people over a certain income. Hopefully, with the next administration, that would change, because one of the things in Biden's Build Back Better is giving money to the states that they need to survive, to compensate for the virus, and to do the distribution of the vaccines. So let's hope this next 10 days goes relatively fast. Voting on it, formally introducing it. By the way, Mrs. Trump says that, she shows her regret for the loss of lives, but she does not attach any blame to who's responsible for it. Go figure.
Well, I'll tell you the hypocrisy is certainly, the stench of the hypocrisy has reached an all new high, right? You had on the right all of the folks who were talking about Blue Lives Matter. When we were talking about Black Lives Matter, they were talking about the value of law and order and all of this, right? And so we saw that we had anything but law and order, and we saw law enforcement under attack. And all of those unions, I haven't heard many of them come out and speak against what occurred in defense of these law enforcement officials who put their lives between us and between the insurrectionists.
Go figure.
Right? And we got to note this too, that the Law and Order president, right, did not, until he was, I guess, pressured, right?
Nope. That has changed. We found out who truly called in the National Guard.
No, I'm not talking about the National Guard, but we can talk about that in a second. But I'm talking about lowering the flags to half-mast.
Yes.
Right? So...
Well, our governor decided not to do that until he was pressured by a guy we all know, Joe Griffiths. Spoke to 14 of his aides before he finally announced, because he wasn't going to do it. When he found out the guys had died, the first officer was from New Jersey.
Really?
Really?
Oh, so it was about New Jersey, not about just... I tell you, man, the pandering never ends, does it?
Yes.
So go ahead. What were you going to say about the National Guard?
Well,
and I think we got what, 4 minutes?
The National Guard. Everybody believed that the aides had finally pressured Trump into calling in the National Guards to stop the insurrection. It wasn't him. Him and Pence had that big fight, and from that point, once Pence left the room, and then the president took credit for it.
Look at that.
Now, by the way, sources close to the president, one who just quit, one of his staffers, a senior staffer, stated that the president has been fussing with everybody and regrets putting in that statement of denouncing the insurrection. That's why they shut him down. He was planning, quote unquote, to do it again.
All right. Well, listen. Hey, Diane, when do you want to?
The kids still got their Twitter accounts up and going.
Yeah, right. So here's the question: when do you want to do this book club? So the book that we're going to be reading, guys, is Caste, right? Mm-hmm. The Origins of Our Discontent, right? So that we can start to begin to understand the foundation of the of our suffering, right? And so we don't look and say, you know what, this is some present time thing.
Is this something they're going to tell us what we don't know?
Oh, it's going to tell a lot of people what they don't know, what they think they know, but they don't really know. Oh, yes, it will. So
We usually do it on a Thursday, so let's do it February 11th. So that's a month from today.
February 11th?
Mm-hmm.
Going to unpack Caste, The Origins of Our Discontent by Isabel Wilkerson. Right? So get your read on.
Mm-hmm. They got it on audio too.
For y'all who don't want to read, or who can't read, or who don't have time to read, you can get it on audio. And like I'm sitting here baking right now, I could have it playing. Right? So
I don't need you to be listening to angry stuff while you making cobbler. Cobbler around mad.
Nah, there's nothing but love in this. Nothing but love in it. All right, guys, listen. Stay alert, because corporation white supremacy is making moves. They never stop. And guys, listen. Don't get cocky, because they got a winning record. They're undefeated. Right?
Well, the reason they have a winning record is because of incidents that happened Wednesday.
Nah, they got to win. Nah.
Once we step up to the plate, they want to change the rules.
They got a winning record because they have a playbook. We're operating like the Bad News Bears. We're drawing our plays in the dirt with a stick. I'm telling you.
Bad News Bears, man. Man, come on, man. That's, the football. That's the alley, the Sandlot football field where we've drawn a plan. You sit back, you say, you go here, cut up there, jump on the number 3 bus.
Yeah, like we used to do when we played street ball. Go to the second light, the second street light, and then hook back to the fire hydrant.
Your mom's step.
Yeah, So that's what we doing. Meanwhile, they have a plan. They have a playbook called the Willie Lynch Letter and the Making of a Slave, and they operate that playbook masterfully, guys. So that's why we're behind, losing. Anyway, stay informed. Continue to wash your hands, wear your mask, socially distance. This virus is still here and very, very dangerous. Thanks for tuning in.
Have a good day.
Have a great day, guys.